Okay, so you've got me on speaker and I've got you on gallery. So I want to, again, just take you through the lines, okay? So just as a brief overview, and for those of you who maybe weren't here for the first couple of classes, I think it's helpful to get just a little bit of a visual. So according to this system, there's like 7, I think it's 5 or, well, anyway, we'll go through it. Okay, there's the lateral line, and you've got one on each side. And it goes, they all start at the bottom of your foot, the plantar fascia, right in the very center of your foot. And if you've ever had plantar fasciitis, you'll know right what that is, because it's painful as hell, okay? and the lines then start to, there's a continuity. So this one goes around the side of the foot, up the side of the leg, into the IT, into the side of the shin, outside of the knee, very important area. The IT band, the TFL, tensor fasciae latae, into the quadratus lumborum, very important deep muscle, hard to get at because there's things above it, into the lat, into the intercostal muscles, and you see it goes up under the armpit, into the neck, and into the side of the face. So right up into the jaw, into the scalenes, into the throat, into the side of the face, into the temporalis. So people have headaches, lateral line. The lateral line connects the front and back lines, and you've got one on each side. And then you've got the superficial back line. So that goes from the center of the foot. This is the one you want to pay attention to, Christine. From the center of the foot, over the heel, up the gastroc, up the gastric nemesis, up the calf, into the hamstrings, crosses the thoracolumbar area, which is a great big kite-like structure. It actually starts at the 12th thoracic, and it goes out to each hip bone, and then it comes down to the sacrum, okay? And that big sheet of fascia is very strong. It's actually stronger than steel. It's designed to keep you upright, okay? You're bipedal, so, our body is really different than every other animal because they're all quadrupeds, okay? And we're the only thing that stands upright, truly upright. Anyway, so that's all changed around the tailbone, the pelvic girdle, the floor of the pelvis. And that, so it has to be quite strong to hold us up, but it also needs to be hydrated. And it actually crosses here. It actually crosses. And it goes up the back, both sides of the spine, into the base of the skull, over the skull, and attaches to your eyebrows. So every time you squint and push your head forward, you're breaking the back body line. So if you're doing a lot of zooming, you're in trouble. If you're sitting a lot, you've got a shrink to fit body, and that's not very healthy either. And that we're doing a lot of that with COVID. So this is this is so timely, it's unbelievable. Okay. And that, that's kind of the important postural line. Then you've got the superficial front line, and it comes over the top of the front of the foot, up the inside of the thigh, up the top of the thigh. And here it looks like it's a disconnect, but actually what it's connected to is the fascia around the muscle is connected to the epithelium. The epithelium is the fascia of the bones. So we're fascially connected through the pelvic bone into the pubic symphysis and then up the front body, rectus, abdominis, all those, and right up, here you go, into the sternocleidomastoid, into the side of the jaw, into the, I think the tongue, under the jaw, the strap. And then in the back, it continues in the back body. No, that's the next one, sorry. Okay, leave that. Okay, now we go into the spiral sheath. So the spiral sheath does interesting things. It goes in and out, So it starts on both sides of the ankles. You see it crosses at the shin, goes onto the both sides of the knee, and then it crosses at the thigh, goes to the lesser trochanter, which is down underneath your butt, right by your sitting bones. So deep inside. It's at the top. It's at the top of your thigh. It's actually the inside of the thigh, it's a little bit away from the buttock bone. Crosses the front of the pelvis. Then goes around to the back body, where it comes underneath the scapula and joins the opposite side of the skull. Okay, interesting line. Has to do with spirals and twists and rotational movement, etc. Then we've got the core sheath. So this is the deep front body line. Now the deep front body line is really important because this is kind of the master line in a way. The health of this line determines how strong and how healthy the other lines can get. If this is weak, the other lines can only do so much. So we do a lot of strengthening in the satya work, particularly of this deep front body line with all the undulations. All the undulations we do, that's your deep front line, okay? And that goes, again, from the inside of the big toe, up the inside of the leg, inside of the thigh, the abdominals, all the way up into the diaphragm, into the intercostals, into the neck and throat, the scalenes, and goes into the tongue. The tongue is the other end, a muscle in the back of the jaw, okay? So that, very important. And then we've got the 8 diaphragms that support the whole body, starting with the diaphragm of the foot, which is a really important line, Christine, the diaphragm of the foot. There's a diaphragm in the ankle. There's one in the knee. That's why people who are hyperextended, you don't lock your knees back. You need to have soft knees. You have to, that should be a secondary curve, not a primary curve. So people with hyperextended legs, Deirdre, yeah, that's why you get the low back pain, okay? Because you're turning a secondary curve into a primary curve. It's disturbing the load through the pelvis. So the pelvic diaphragm is not working properly to support the inner organs. So the base of the spine is off and you get compression. Okay, then there's the diaphragm, the throat diaphragm, one in the jaw, yeah, and the skull. Okay, and then you've got 4 arm lines. You've got the superficial and deep front and back arm lines. I'm going to get into the arm lines today because they've got a lot to do with the neck and skull. So that's basically the slings. Those are the fascial lines that work, so they have continuity. I won't, the rest is too much science for now, okay? But that basically gives you the wraparound. That's the whole body there, okay? And we're gonna start. So I'm gonna put my camera up a bit higher so you can see me. Now, this work is traditionally done not demonstrating. And that is because the neuroplasticity part, so it's small, mindful movement, done led by the breath, unloaded from gravity. You can think of this as supine vinyasa practice, okay? We do a lot of gliding and sliding on the blanket. We do a lot of, rolling and shifting and compression, decompression, a lot of undulations. And ideally you're flat. You should have just a extra folded blanket for your head. The people who I asked to have the balls, if you have your yellow balls, if anybody bought the Sensi balls, do you have them? The 2 balls, you need the 2 Sensi balls. Beautiful, Annie. Okay, great. Did you get them, Graham? Have you got 2? Okay, great. So the people who have balls will use those. If you didn't go ahead and get the balls, well done. It's got to be the Sensi balls for the neck work, okay? If you don't have the Sensi balls, just use an extra rolled blanket. So can you have handy 2 extra blankets or a towel and a blanket? And can you have, do all of you have your stretchy bands? A stretchy band? A Dynaband? If you don't, you can just use your imagination today. If you don't have this stuff, it's recommended in the list. If you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. We'll do something slightly different, yeah? But if you have the stuff, it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference, actually. Okay, so we're going to start. I'm going to put my camera up. And we'll just see how far we get today. We'll see how far we get today. And then whatever I don't get to today, then that's what next week is for. So, if you have the balls and we don't actually get to work with them today because so many people don't have, we'll just see what happens, okay? We'll definitely use them next week because I really appreciate that you got the right stuff, okay? Okay, can you see my mat okay? Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, we want to get going here. Okay, so we're going to start lying down. you can hear me okay. I think my voice gets a bit muffled when you're, is my sound okay, Kay? Okay. Yeah, I think sometimes when I lie down, you might lose it. Also, I've got drilling going on out in the street. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's jackhammering the cement outside my door. Anyway.
It's a little bit quiet. If you can raise your voice, that would help.
Okay, thank you. Let's just see if my volume is right as well. No, I don't know if that helps though. No, okay. Okay, I'll try to shout. Okay, so we're going to start lying in our signature shape. So you can use your hands, let yourself lie down, come to your elbows, lengthen your spine, drop your skull, extend your legs, and relax your arms by your sides. So the first thing we want to do is just learn to surrender. Just give up your weight to the earth. Let the earth really support you. You know, just allow the weight of your bones to really drop into the ground. And this is your signature shape. So if I had a piece of colored chalk and I drew around your body, it would have a particular shape. And I want you to start to feel what that's what you look like, you know, standing. So you're starting to feel, you know, the weight of both heels, the calves and the thighs and the lower back. And just see, you know, does one foot roll out more? Does one leg roll out more? So just notice the actual places where there's contact of the skin to the ground. And just notice if it's the same on each side or if it's different, if one leg rolls out more. Maybe it's just the foot, maybe it's the lower leg. Maybe the thighs do the same thing, but the lower leg does something different. Maybe it's just from the knee down. So begin to notice these discrepancies. So very few people, less than 1% of the population has what we call symmetrical body. So, you know, all of us will be slightly skew-whiffed, basically, unless you're one of the miracle people. Okay. And then just feel the weight of your sacrum, feel the heaviness of the bone of the sacrum. Just let it be heavy. Allow it to relax onto the ground. Let your abdominal area soften so that the breath can get right down into the pelvic floor. The health of the pelvic floor is compromised if the abdomen is too tight or too slack. So again, we're looking to create at some point some tonus. So just notice what's happening now. And then the back of the body, the back of the ribs, at some point the ribs touch the floor. There should be a nice gap, a slight gap at your lower back. Your lumbar spine, if you have a good natural lumbar curve, should not be on the floor. You are not trying to take your lumbar to the ground. Let your arms, let the weight of your arms and the weight of your hands release. Feel your shoulder girdle. So maybe the shoulders feel really different. Maybe one shoulder blade is flat on the ground. Maybe one is not. Maybe one shoulder rolls up, peels up away from the floor goes toward the ceiling or toward the ear. Just see. And especially the weight of the skull. Feel how the head is resting on the floor. Really release the weight of your head. And you may notice, if you really pay attention, that maybe the head is slightly tilted. Yeah? Maybe it's kind of down on one side and up on the other. Or maybe you kind of rolled over toward one side. Yeah. Yeah. So there could be a tilt. There could be a rotational movement, a bend. It could be bend, it could be tilt, it could be rotation. So you're not trying to fix anything. So you're not trying to fix yourself. You're just getting to really see what's present. No judgment, just observation, just equanimity. And then we're going to start to breathe into your trunk. So start to notice your breath. Notice the flow of your breath, where you feel it, and maybe where you don't feel it. So maybe you're a belly breather. Maybe you feel a lot of movement in the abdomen, but not much in your chest. Or maybe you feel the chest moving, but not a whole lot going on in the abdomen. Maybe you only breathing with your upper body, the upper 2, 3 ribs at the expense of everything else. So, that's the stress response in the body, which is not uncommon with any kind of strain. If you're dealing with pain or any kind of strain, obviously we're all under the stress of COVID-19 and, worry and that sort of thing. So, again, no judgment, but just notice where you're breathing. And we'll see if in the course of the class that changes, okay? So we're going to start with the back body line because it often needs hydration. Because of all the sitting, because of all the head and eye strain, it needs hydration. So all of this movement is led by the rhythm of the breath. So we're not forcing anything. If anything feels uncomfortable or awkward, then you should stop and unmute yourself and ask a question. But so you don't suffer in silence. There should be no pain. So everything's done sliding and gliding on the floor. So we start with that plantar fascia. So remember I said all the fascial lines except for the arm lines only through being integrated to the other lines, so they connect to the bottom of the feet. So you're going to stretch the bottom of your foot. So you're going to open up the bottom of your foot, stretch the sole of your foot by extending your heel forward and pulling your toes toward your face. So you're bringing the foot into dorsiflexion. Yeah, that's called dorsiflexion when we open the plantar fascia of the foot. So heel extends, toes come toward you. And as you inhale, you're going to drive that heel forward, slide the heel forward toward the wall in front of you. And then as you exhale, just let it all slide back and let it relax. And then the left side. Okay, open the sole of the foot, extend the heel, pull the toes toward your face, drive the heel away, push the heel forward, slide the leg forward. And then as you exhale, just let it release. And you're just going to go back and forth. Toes to the ceiling, open the sole of the foot, extend the heel, slide it on the floor, lengthen that leg away from you, and then exhale to let it recover. Now you're not pushing so hard, so when people are hyper, keep going, keep following the directions, keep breathing, keep moving while I chatter on. People with hyperextended knees, do not pop the heel off the floor. So only extend the sole of the foot enough that you can keep your heel grounded. So the heel slides on the floor. And again, Christine, pay attention if that's aggravating your situation. So just take it much lighter on the side that's in trauma if that feels right to you. So just easy does it. So toes to the ceiling, heel extends forward, open the sole of the foot, slide the heel forward, lengthening through that whole side. And what you're going to begin to feel is not only does the leg slide forward, but that starts to drag the buttocks because the buttocks are sitting on top of the thoracolumbar ligament, the thoracolumbar fascia. So remember, we're fascially connected. I showed that big kite-shaped piece in the back of the lower back. Yeah, it goes down to the sacrum. So when you extend the heel, one hip goes down and the other hip comes up towards its own armpit. So you're simulating gait. Because the other thing about being bipedal is that we walk. Yeah. So gait, you can read Born to Walk by James Earls. Extend the heel forward on the inhalation, and on the exhale, let it relax. The same thing on the other side. Keep alternating. You're simulating walking without bending the knees, but also without jamming the knees. So extend the heel. And let's see how far you get it. If you're fascially connected, you might feel the ribs moving, the shoulders moving, the head moving. Yeah, it comes all the way up the back body, over the skull, attaches to the eyes, the eyebrows. So, you may feel movement all the way up the line, even though the emphasis is the lower body. And then when you've done both sides, make sure you always end up doing both sides evenly. Just let go everywhere. Just drop it and just breathe. And feel any tingling, pulsing. So that's neurological flushing. So when you get that tingling and pulsing,
different sensations in the legs, the feet, wherever you get it. It could be anywhere along the body line. That is neurological flushing. So it means that, you know, you're connecting the nerves. So the fascia has 7 to 9 times more nerve endings than anywhere else. So when you think a muscle hurts, it's not your muscles, it's your fascia. It's your fascia telling you something's not right. Hello, hello. Let's try to talk to you. Okay, so you got to listen. You got to learn to listen. Body listening. It's body listening. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit. We're going to add the arms. So we're going to let the arms come in a little bit closer to your sides. We're going to get into the shoulders. We're going to do the same kind of idea with the arms. So we're going to stretch the right arm down toward the right foot and then let it slide back. And then stretch the left hand down. So hands up, arms are externally rotated, palms are to the ceiling. Everything stays on the ground. Glide and slide. So the head is staying in the center. We're just doing the arms. So reach one arm down, let it slide back on the exhalation, extending it on the inhalation, letting it slide back on the exhalation. And then we'll let the head turn with it. So now I reach the right arm, and I let my head roll to the right as though I'm trying to see my hand. I may or may not see it, and then exhale to come back. So really, it's just head rolling as though you're going to look at the hand. But clearly, you really can't see the hand without lifting the head. We're not lifting anything. Yeah? It's all on the ground. Inhale to slide the arm. Let the head roll on the floor. We're going to do some extra stuff on the neck today, I hope. Slide back. Inhale, extend the arm down. Let the head roll. Exhale to come back. So arm is extending, head is turning, and down it comes. So this is shoulder, the shoulder blades are gliding. Yeah? So as you reach the arm down, really feel it's the shoulder blade that's moving. And let it come back. And the other side, really let the shoulder blade reach down as well as the arm. Let the head roll. Repeat. Other side. And then just let go, let the arms and legs completely rest, feel any neurological flushing. And it may be interesting to feel it goes right down the whole front body line, might go right down to your feet, the inner thighs, you know, where you feel things can really surprise you sometimes. So just really be open in that receptive shava, you know, that just, you know, really finding out what's happening. Okay. We're going to bend up one knee at a time. So I always say bend up both your knees, but I always mean one at a time. So I have to say that now. Okay. Bend up your right leg, bend up your left leg so that your feet are on the ground. They're wider than your hips. So feet are wider than hips. And we're going to start with our motility. This is a motility exercise. This is one of the first, this one down. Okay, it's one of the first movements of any living being, yes, single cell organisms. You can let your arms rest and stick them up position or goal post. If that's not available to you because there's a shoulder problem, let your arms just rest out to your side somewhere. So whatever feels right to you, okay? And we're going to start with this undulation. Now, in case you don't know, you probably do know, but let's do it anyway. Take your fingertips and put them on the pointy bits at the front of your pelvis, yeah? So that is not the top of your pelvis. Your pelvis, the ilium is actually up really high, close to the bottom ribs. There's not much space there. But in the front, these frontal hip bones, that's the ASIS, the anterior superior iliac spine. It's called the ASIS for short. And in the back, you've got the PSIS, okay? So look, the ASIS. So as you inhale, you're going to tip the pelvis down. So let the ASIS roll down. So pubic bone goes toward the floor. And you're going to the bottom part of your sacrum. So you're increasing the arch of your lower back. Just naturally happens. And the abdomen distends. On the inhalation, the abdomen should distend. And then on the exhalation, the pubic bone, the sacrum lengthens away from you. The pubic bone curls up toward your face. And your face falls away from your neck. Okay, so the chin goes back. As you inhale, the pubic bone comes down, the chin comes down with it. So it's a very gentle Jalalahara Bandha. So now you're starting to hydrate. Yeah, the deep front line, the back line, the front line, and the glands, the thyroid, the parathyroid. Okay, so now that's fascia too. Okay, so now back and forth we go. And then as you inhale, pubic bone down, chin down. It's gentle. Don't yank. Don't force. It's not muscular. It's the breath moves the bones. The fascia moves the bones and the muscles. Okay, so we're trying to go with the breath. Let the breath lead the way. And the breath determines the intensity of the work. So you don't overwork. If you start forcing the body, actually the brain is not interested because it just goes back to its old habits, its old patterns, and it turns off. But if you do this with a lot of awareness, sensitivity, if you deeply pay attention, you're going to start to increase your brain maps. Then the brain can stay on track if you keep paying attention, and you start to enlarge your brain maps. And not only does it affect your physiological structures, also affects the emotional and mental capacity of the brain. So they become borrowed. They can be borrowed again by other things. Okay, so back and forth we go. So we're breaking the stress cycle. So we're downloading the central nervous system. We're uploading the parasympathetic systems. Yeah, we're building the immune system. We're hydrating tissues. We're breaking old patterns. We're reconnecting fascial sheaths. We're hydrating, we're reconnecting them and hydrating them to create new sensory patterns, to increase the brain neuroplasticity, to strengthen the immune system. All of this is really quite timely. So back and forth, undulation 1, this is called. So, begin to really feel that as you inhale, you let the abdomen soften and bloat. The pelvic floor opens here. And then as you exhale, okay, the pelvic floor starts to close up. The transversus comes toward you. The pubic bone comes toward the face. Yeah, the head goes back. Yeah, and then as you inhale, the opposite happens. So you're flushing, hydrating, compressing, decompressing. All of those things are happening together. So it may seem like a small thing, but if you do it really mindfully and not just crank the pelvis back and forth, but really move with your breath, really coordinate the breath with the movements, breath-led. As the breath begins to change, the movement patterns will change. You'll start to feel you're going deeper. You may be using the abdominal area in a way that you haven't in a while. It just feels less mechanical. Good. And then we'll give that a pause and stretch out the legs, just sense and feel. Yeah, arms can be at your sides and just sense and feel any neurological flushing, any tingles, pulses, vibrations, sighs, moans, gurgles. You can make all the sounds you want. You can sigh. I can't hear you. You're muted, so nobody can hear you. Okay. We're going to come back to our first one now. So we're going to take the arms in this stick 'em up position. So try to have your arms resting on the floor. If that's not available to you, if there's a problem with the shoulder, you could have your extra blanket folded the long way next to you so that your arms can rest on the blanket. So people who have maybe some shoulder stiffness, it would still be a good idea. You still want to be able to keep the sliding action as much as possible. So support those arms with extra blankets. I always say, have loads of stuff. Yeah, loads of stuff. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to stretch the right heel. So we're going to do plantar fascia again. We're going to do the up slip, down slip of the S. This is SI release 1. Okay, SI release 1, sacroiliac release 1. So back body line, we're going to add the arm line. Okay, so we're going to take that heel forward, stretch the sole of the foot, toes to the ceiling. As you stretch the heel forward, stretch the same arm back. So lengthen through the whole right side of the body. And then as you exhale, let it slide back, let the leg relax. Let's do the left side. So extending the heel, Sliding the heel forward, stretching the sole of the foot, stretching the arm behind you, lengthening the whole side waist there, exhaling to slide back. Let the arm slide back, let the leg relax. So back and forth, extending the right heel and the right arm, lengthening through the side body. So getting into that lateral line, the one between the front and the back. So we just worked the front and the back with the upslip, with the undulation. Now we're going into this side body release. Inhaling to extend the heel and extend the arm. And exhaling to release. Other side, inhaling to extend the heel and the arm. And don't worry about how big the movement is. I've been doing this for a long time. You know, you might only be able to straighten the arm a little bit, but every little bit counts. And every time you do this, you're going to get more and more of that line connected, okay? So connecting the arm lines now to the lateral line. And then let go, let go. Arms can come back down by your sides, just sense and feel. Changes in breath, any sensations anywhere. Okay, so we'll do unwinding one. And we're gonna add to unwinding one today. So people who are newer, you can stay with the first part. You can add the second and third parts as you understand it. So, you know, not to worry. You can just stay with the first part for the whole sequence, okay? So not to worry. It's very simple, but, you know, you may or may not grasp it. And if you don't worry, okay? Please don't worry. Because then you just go right into what we're trying to avoid. You go into sympathetic system, okay? Okay, so let's just arms are out to your sides, legs are long, bend up your right leg. Place your foot on the floor, and we're going to do unwinding one. This is quite good for the organic body. So again, you're going to keep that plantar fascia of the foot active by lifting your toes. Keep your toe mounds on the ground and lift only your toes. So that when you go to the side, if you were using the side that's closest to the camera, I would be able to see the sole of your foot. So as you inhale, you're going to push the knee across. So as you inhale, take your knee across the other leg. So let me see the sole of your foot. And let the arm hang heavy. Let the arm and the shoulder stay relaxed on the floor. And it's as though you're trying to keep your ribs, you know, the top ribs, you're trying to roll them back toward the floor in the direction you've come from. And then as you exhale, navel comes to spine, weight of the pelvis rocks you back, and you just drop into the floor. So really let go when you get there. Press the foot on the inhale, come across, knee comes across, arm, the shoulder heavy, pecs, pec minor, pec major, getting into, so what's happening is this gets some squeezing around the neck, so your compression, decompression, the sides of the neck, you're extending and lengthening, dynamic lengthening, passive lengthening of the upper pecs, pec major, pec minor. You're squeezing the kidney and the adrenal that sits on top of the kidney. It's a kidney squeeze. This is an organic thing. You're bringing a slight spinal twist to the very lower part of the spine, L5S1. Very healthy for people, especially as we get older. There's a lot of compression there. You know, we want to get the space back. We want to get some hydration in those tissues. So back and forth you go, breathing in to come across. Letting the abdomen distend on the inhalation. So keeping the breath, the flow of the breath, and then exhaling to rock back and recover. Now, for people, if you want, so you want to get a rhythm with this. The important thing is to find the rhythm. The other thing, the fascia, the brain is really interested in, the fascia is interested in, other receptors of the fascia that go to the brain are rhythm. The other thing that the receptors are really interested in is rhythm. Slow, mindful, rhythmic movement. Okay, back to come. And you can let that top arm, the arm that's out to the side, let it come up a little bit higher. So it's kind of slight, at a slight diagonal for those people that's available to. Yeah. And then as you take the knee across, you're going to externally rotate the palm to the floor behind you. So we did this last week. So this is a movement for the shoulder. So we're wringing out, so we're doing 3 different movements, yeah? So we're wringing out the shoulder, externally rotating, turning the palm like you're hitchhiking, thumb back. till the palm comes to the floor, and then exhale to recover. And inhale to push and roll. Keep the foot active. The more active the foot is, the more the side body line will be hydrated, and the more support you'll get in your outer knee for your running. So all of these lines are important. Every single line has to be in balance with all the other lines. Okay, and the arm is turning, shoulder is turning. Otherwise, just keep it with the first section that I showed. And then for those people who are with me, take arms out to the sides. This time, as we take the knee across, you're going to let the arm slide down toward its own heel. So you reach down, the hand slides on the floor. I try to reach the heel. I may or may not touch. The head falls back. So I get a nice stretch between my shoulder and my ear, the side of my skull, the mastoid process actually. Scalenes, sternocleidomastoid. So inhale, push the foot, slide the arm down toward in the direction of your heel. Doesn't matter whether you touch or not. Keep that foot in dorsiflexion. Make sure the foot stays active. Let yourself roll back on the exhalation. Inhale, press the foot, reach the knee, lengthen the arm down toward your heel. I would say, be careful if you have SI problems. Don't go into too deep in arch. If you're working with a lower back problem, just keep it gentle. Don't go for broke, Deirdre. Don't go for broke. Even though you're mobile, it's about tensegrity. It's about bringing strength to those areas that are hypermobile and bringing hydration to the areas that are compressed. So don't overdo the arching. Whereas me, I was a bit stiffer. It's probably good for me to get kind of push into my lower L2, L3, L1 a little bit more. Yeah? So you need to gauge everything for your condition. Yeah? And then back to calm, and then let that leg slide out, arms down by your sides, and sense and feel the two sides now. So feel any neurological flushing. Where is it? How is it? What does one side of the body feel like compared to the other? And you might feel it all the way up into the face. You might feel it more around your face and neck, depending on where the holding, where the dehydration is. As you get that opening, you'll get that flushing. So it may be somewhere at the top of the line, or the middle of the line, or the bottom of the line. It could be anywhere. Just sense and feel whatever happens for you. And then the more of this you do, the more sensitive you become, the more hydrated you become. Yet it all takes time, patience. We have forbearance to the body, as the Buddha taught. Yeah? We have forbearance. So this is all about working with reality. Not where you want to be, but where you really are. Okay, let's do the other side. Okay, bend up that leg. Okay, foot on the floor, toes elevated, but ball of the foot down. So really open up the sole of the foot. Get that nice extension of the plantar fascia. Yeah, that's what's going to connect you. Then over you go. Push with the foot. Let the knee come across. And then exhale to come back. The head sort of stays in the center for this. Yeah, really let the weight of the pelvis roll you back. Press with the foot. Reach the knee across. Open the pec major and minor, across the top of the chest into the arm lines. We're going to hopefully get to that front line today. For those people who have balls. Okay, back and home. And inhale, press and roll. Let the abdomen extend here. Be soft in your abdomen. Feel the difference. Then as you exhale, the navel folds to the spine, and the healthy pelvis rolls you back. Inhale, press and roll. Top of the inhalation, extend. Let that arm hang heavy, arm and shoulder. Get a rhythm going. So the important thing here, so people who are newer, not to worry about the variations. For you guys, keeping the rhythm going might be more important. So if there's, if you're finding that a bit tricky, just stay with that. If that's coming quite easily for you today, then you can add the next bit. Okay, so on the next one, let the arm come up at a slightly right angle, toward the, diagonal, toward the corner of the room. And then as you inhale, let that arm roll from the shoulder, palm to the floor. Exhale to come back. Inhale to press and roll. So wringing out the arm, extending and releasing through the pelvis, through the whole side body line. So this is the organic body as well as the S1, L1, 2, and 3, kidneys, adrenals. That's the stress. That's the stress. We need to hydrate that area, bring it back into balance. We need to unstress it. We need to bring health back to the adrenals. Let the breath lead the way. It's very pleasurable practice. This should feel yummy. Yeah? So I always feel like I'm stretching from the inside. Now we take the arm down. So the arms come back to neutral, come back to the side of the body. And then the next time you take the knee across, can you reach the arm down, slide it on the floor, reach it down toward the foot. You may or may not touch the heel. Don't adjust the foot to touch the heel. It's not the point. Less is more. Yeah? It's the sliding and the breath and the movement. So you're pumping. So we are a pulsatory system. Now the heart pumps the blood, but movement pumps the lymph and the water element. So this is a water practice. And we're moving the fluids of the body with intention, with very specific exercises to hydrate the fascial lines and to get the areas in those lines that are under the most stress and tend to get the most dehydration and damage, i.e. the lower back, the neck, the feet, the knees. Yeah? Okay. And then back you come, and last one, and then when you're ready, stretch out arms and legs. And you might find that you creep forward. You might have to recenter yourself a little bit, scoot yourself back and forward. Sense and feel the results. What's going on? Where's the sensation? Maybe it's all over now. Maybe you've got more sensation in one arm than the other, or both legs. Yeah, feeling that. Lots of drawings and things I should show. Okay. Okay. So now we're going to bend at both knees, plunk the feet on the floor, and we're going to come into undulate, a side scrub. So let your arms slide up, interlace your fingers behind your head. So make a little resting pad for your skull. And, you know, if you have any cumbersome jewelry, you might want to take it off. The other thing is make sure that the hands are really under the skull and not your neck. So really under the bulbous part of your skull. So thumbs can be hooked sort of toward the rim of the skull, but hands should be under the bulby part of the skull. We're going to take a breath. Inhale, take your right elbow, slide your right elbow toward the wall behind you on a diagonal. Let your head roll in your hands and look at that elbow, and then exhale to come back. So side scrub, yeah? Yeah, it's called side scrub. So elbow goes back, other elbow comes toward opposite hip, head rolls into hands. So again, the sacrum is stable. So you're actually spinning the tissue on the sacrum as you lengthen one side. So the hips stay down. You're also lengthening the QL on the back of the waist, the side waist, the ribs, all the intercostals up through the armpit, up right into the side of the neck. Yeah. So one side extends, other side shortens. So squeezing one side and lengthening the other. And you can add up, slip, down, slip to this. So especially people with the lower back issues, you can push the head of the shin forward on the right side as you take the right elbow back. New people, you can just stay with the first bit if you don't understand that instruction. Then the head of the left shin pushes forward. Feet stay on the ground. Yeah, this is an inside out job. We're going for the inside out, okay? Press the shin forward, take the elbow back. So now the pelvis is doing up, slip, down, slip, while the upper body is stretching away. So you're lengthening, you're creating a dynamic lengthening by pushing that knee forward, as well as taking the elbow back at the same time. Just feel that. this can get more complicated. We're going to keep it simple. This is just kind of a taster class. Okay, let the hands come from away from the head. Let the arms come by your side. Stretch out your legs. Sense and feel any changes in the shape, in your signature shape. Do you feel some length in your side waist? Do you feel some length? Do you feel you have a longer rib cage basket? We call it basket, not a cage, but okay. Just sense and feel whatever you sense and feel, and I'll really allow that to register. This is the soaking part. This is where the cells start to get the information. Okay, we're going to bend up each leg again, and we're going to keep the feet wider than the pelvis, so wider. You need to have enough room to slip the sacrum through, so it depends on the width of your hips. So feet slightly wider than hips. And again, we're going to interlace the hands under the head, so just rest like you're hanging out at the beach. Just have a chill out, okay? And now we're going to start undulation 2. So undulation 2 does have a little more strength to it, but it's not. If you follow the breath, it's not a big deal. You know, so it's when you try to overdo it that you start to create, you know, it's not a crunch. You'll be okay if you, yeah, okay. So we're going to start with the exhalation. So on the exhalation, what happens is the elbows come together. That brings the head down. So my chin gently comes into my throat area, and my pubic bone comes toward my face. So I bring that posterior tilt to the pelvis. So pubic bone comes toward the face, and it's just my upper shoulders that come off the floor. So I'm opening up my rhomboids. So the squeezing of the elbows really lets those muscles that go from my spine to the medial part of my inside edge of my shoulder blade. It's actually opening that area. Then as I lay myself down, kind of laying those thoracic spine down, they tend to be dead. Yeah, the dead zone we call it. Okay, as the head comes to the floor, push your elbows down. Push your elbow tips down into your blankets. If you have extra blankets there, unbraid them, and come to the bottom edge of your tailbone. So if you need a little support, you know, under the arms like before, you're going to have your blankets under each elbow. Okay, up you come on the exhalation, pubic bone to face, opening up the shoulder blades, and now we squeeze the shoulder blades, push the elbows down, rock the pelvis, you come to the tip of your tailbone, and the head goes back in your hands. The head slides and the hands backwards. So nose goes to ceiling. So this is the opposite of undulation 1, in that the two bony structures are now coming toward one another on the exhalation, and they move away from each other on the inhalation. So press the elbows, rock the pelvis, arch the back, squeeze the shoulder blades, let the head roll, press the back of the head into your hands on that inhalation. Exhalation, squeeze those elbows together. Let that take the head to the chest, come just up about the shoulder blades, up pubic bone, active lower abdominal area, posterior tilt, long lumbar. Lumbar is on the floor there for sure. Okay, so anterior tilt of the pelvis and the skull. Elbows down, squeeze the shoulder blades, and then spread the shoulder blades. Squeeze the elbows, head comes in, up you come. Pubic bone to face. Next time we're going to come up at an angle. So now we're going to start to vary it a little bit. So press the elbows down, arch the back, let the head roll back. This time as you squeeze the elbows together, I want you to come up 5 degrees to the right. Come up toward the right knee, and then inhale and lay yourself back down and open up. Extend down the inhalation, and then exhale, squeeze the elbows together, bring the pubic bone to the face, and take the elbows to the other side, 5 degrees or so. So try to do the same angle on the right as the left, okay? So just to keep the angle the same. So although we're alternating sides, yeah, so as we come up, elbows still come together, but we go a little bit to the side. And you can start to vary that angle. So if you did 5 degrees the first time around, you can do 10 degrees the second time around. Keep it the same on the right and left. Keep it the same. Squeeze the elbows. Over you go. Pubic bone to face. So deep front line. Deep front line, superficial front line, back line, lateral lines, and arm lines. So over you go. Right side. Now see if you just come in the middle, open the elbows, but don't go all the way down. Just let the head go back a little bit. Don't go all the way to the ground. And then squeeze and come up to the other side. And then open up. Don't go all the way to the ground. Let the head stay a little bit supported. Elbows open. Squeeze. Go to the other side. And that you get that rhythm going. Yeah. Yeah. Then you can add the knee. So the knee can come up. And then you can take the other knee up. So you open up in the middle. The feet are off the floor. Knees are coming slightly toward you. And you sort of jog the outside of the elbow to the outside of the knee. And it doesn't have to be that big. So just open up on the inhale a bit. And on the exhale, bring the posterior tilt. And just tack. The breath. We're not going crazy. Yeah, just a little bit of strengthening of that deep front line to support your back, without going into a crunch, without overdoing. And then let's come to the middle, knees toward elbows, elbows toward knees. Open up a little bit. And then same thing, elbows to knees, elbow, and then slowly lower yourself down. Lower your head, open your elbows, place your feet on the floor. Let your hands slide out from behind your head. Let your arms come down by your side. Slowly extend your legs and just sense and feel. So now we're getting into the psoas diaphragm. So we're starting to really affect the trunk muscles. So remember that the deep front line determines how strong the other lines can be. So if that line is weak on one side, there can be a disturbance all the way through down to the foot or up to the skull. Okay, so remember we looked at the lines and they go all the way from the bottom of the foot to somewhere in the head. So, the neck, okay. Okay. So just sensing, feeling, breathing. We'll do that, okay. All right. Okay, so we're going to do SI release 3. Okay, so a little bit out flare. Okay, so we'll see out flare, in flare. We'll do a load of that, but yeah. So we're going to bend up the right leg and then bend up the left leg. So here, we're going to just open up. You could use a ball under the hip, but we, kind of a bit, I don't know what people have got. So that we'll just keep it simple. Okay, so open up your right knee. Let that knee open toward the floor. Let the hip roll. Now roll your pelvis so the knee touches the floor. Rather than try to force the knee, let the hips roll and keep the other leg, kind of extend the thigh of the other leg, kind of forward into that knee. You can kind of just gently, if you just gently press that thigh away from you, then you're going to open up that SI. You're going to get into the psoas, lengthen that psoas. And then back you come, drop it down. Okay, this way of coming back, it's almost like you scoop the knee out a little bit and you return to the center. Let's do a few on the right and a few on the left. Okay, so you're going to straighten. So let's start again. Okay, let's start again. Straighten the right leg. Keep the left knee bent. Slide on the outside of your foot up. Yeah. And slide it down. Let's just do a few of those. So just sliding the leg. Yeah, just one leg, the right side. Outer ankle slides on the floor and then let it lengthen. And then up and down. So just do a few of those up and down. Slide sorry about that change. Okay, slide on the outer ankle, slide the foot up toward the other foot and let the knee just be open. Just to get some opening in the hips, in the pelvis, okay? And then we're going to slide it up and now take the foot to the floor and take the knee up. Okay, so now here you are with both knees bent and feet flat. Now we'll do the little more active one. So we'll open the knee and then we'll let the hip roll so the knee comes toward the floor, And then we're going to press gently through that other thigh to open up the deep psoas on the opposite side. And then to exhale, we're going to let that relax down and let that knee come up. Yeah? So let's do that a couple times. Open the knee Now let the hips roll. Press through the thigh bone to extend the psoas. And then release the hip down and bring that knee back up to the ceiling. So let's just do one more on that side. Open the knee. Then roll the pelvis till the knee comes to the floor. Push through the opposite thigh toward the knee to activate the glute. That's going to make the glute active without clutching. So one side is relaxed and open. So you're opening the pelvis. Yeah, that's what you're doing. And then back you come. And then knee comes up. And just feel. Let's stretch out both legs. And sense and feel anything, any changes in shape. Tingling, pulsing, anything. Okay, so let's bend up the other side. So bend up the other leg. Keep that leg you haven't done long. Keep that long to start with, yeah? And then we'll slide up on the outer ankle, foot toward foot, and then sliding back down. So just do a few of those, just to open get that Baddha Konasana slide. It's called half Baddha Konasana slide. The Baddha Konasana is bound cobbler when the feet are together and the knees are out, yeah? And so this is half Baddha Konasana slide. Yeah, so one side is staying stable, knee to the ceiling, foot on the floor. The other leg is just sliding up and down. You know, if you get confused, just look at me. Yeah. And then we're going to do so now slide it back up. And now let the foot come to the floor. Let the knee come to the ceiling, the foot come to the floor. So you're back in your neutral position with knees bent. And you're going to open the knee. And then you're going to push it. You're going to roll the pelvis over. Yeah? So you push with your back foot. And then you push that thigh away from you to lengthen. As that knee goes up, you open up the groin. Yeah? You open up. And maybe one side feels really different than the other, then let that drop back to the floor and recover the weight of the leg. So that's the internal obliques doing that work, okay? So external, that's just the joint opening. That's the adductors releasing. Now we roll, that goes into the side hip, the side glute, okay? Now we push, that's activating the deep front line of the upper body, into the deep front line, into the psoas. Yep, connecting that to the diaphragm, and then exhale, release that back, and then knee comes to the ceiling. And then let it open. Let yourself roll. Let the knee come to the floor there. Reach with the opposite knee away from you, so lengthening that deep front line right up into the armpits. Yep, feel that. Drop the hip, and let the leg recover. Last one. Let the knee open. Let the hips roll. Press the foot down. So glutes on one side working, not overworking, but other side is relaxed. So there's no jamming in the sacrum. That's what's different. And you're starting to strengthen the deep front line in external. Okay. And then hips down and recover the leg. Great. Okay, keep the feet wide. So keep the feet out a little bit now. Arms out to your side. We're going to do unwinding 3. So both legs go to the right. So you keep your feet sharp. So it's like you're on the inside edge of one foot, the outside edge of the other. So keep the toes up with the feet planted. And then roll to the side. So you come to the inside edge of one foot, the outside edge of the other. So I've got a bunion on one foot. So I can really feel a little twinge every time I do that. So I sometimes have an extra blanket there. When right now it's not too bad because I've been doing a lot of this. But you know, if I'm not, then you might feel that. You just have to pay attention and feel what you feel. So over you go, windshield wiper legs. This is unwinding 5 or 3 or something. And then we're going to add the arms if we can. So the people who can do, you're going to externally rotate your arm on the side you're going away from. Knees go one way, arm goes the other. Roll that hand toward the floor, back and forth. Let the head roll and look at the arm that's rotating. Look at that hand. So neck is getting involved too. So it's complete spiral for the spine, neck going one way, lower back going one way, upper neck going the other way. Yeah? Rotational, deep rotational movement for the spine, back and forth, hydrating all the deep rotator muscles, the multifidi, the psoas, the abdominal, everything. Yeah, Nice, beautiful arm lines, neck, shoulders, rib basket, intercostals, all of that. Beautiful. The last one, oh, it's so yummy. You fall in love with these movements, you never want to stop. They feel so good. It's like, oh, yeah, we're going to do better all my life. Okay. Stretch your legs out. Arms by your side. Oh, deeply satisfying stuff. What you long for is that deep connection. So we are connecting the fascial lines that are hydrating and giving life. Okay. We're going to come onto our side. So we've done this bit before, but we're going to, let's see what happens. Okay. So bend up your knee furthest away from the screen. Take your arms straight back behind you and roll onto your side. So we have done this Uddiyana Bandha stuff. Okay. So your fingertips are on the floor. Your heels are extended away from you. You pull up, your sacrum and the back of your heels, are in line. So you're balancing on your hips. Quite a trick. You're really balancing. You can use this hand to help. When you come up, you lift up. You're strengthening the lateral line here, underneath the ribs particularly, which is very weak in people who try to do dog pose. It's not very good. Stretch, just lengthen out. As you lengthen out, you're opening those ribs. Let the head rest. Take the arm, palm to the ceiling, arm overhead. Take a breath. Get a hold of the wrist, lengthen. Pull. And abdomen comes back. You can feel it's a natural Uddiyana Bandha. You extend the heel away. You're stretching the top arm and the top ribs up. You've already opened the bottom ribs. And the throat is soft. Watch out for clutching in the jaw, in the throat, and in the chin. Keep the face open. Take a few breaths here. Abdomen moves to spine, and then slowly roll yourself back. Let's put your foot back. We do one here where we can do this if you want. Yeah, let's do this. Okay, so you put your foot, so instead of rolling all the way back onto your back, bend your knee and put your foot on the floor behind you. So again, this is this open groin. Yes, this is this opening, lengthening the psoas. Okay. Now the lower body stays where it is. This leg doesn't come forward, but you're going to let your upper body, your ribs, roll a little bit forward and then roll a little bit back. I mean, it'll move a tiny bit because you're fascially connected, but you're trying to keep it back as you let you only might roll like an inch or two on your ribs, on the side ribs. This is for your rib basket. This is to open up the intercostals into the armpits. Armpits have a huge amount of lymph nodes. So you're massaging all the lymph nodes in the upper breast tissue, really important in this time. And you're also hydrating the lymphs in the lower legs, so prostate and reproductive organs and digestive organs, and also massaging mostly the ribs there. Okay, and let yourself relax back to roll yourself back, arms down by your side, legs long. Drop your weight, drop the weight of your bones. Don't worry if you don't get all this stuff the first time around. Don't have unrealistic expectations of yourself or the practice. It's a vocabulary. You wouldn't expect to learn German in a day. So, you have to learn the vocabulary. It's more about sensing and feeling the effects. Some will be more effective than others. Yeah. Okay, let's do the other side. So bend up the other leg, bend up that leg, stretch the arm out, roll to your side, extend. Okay, put your feet on top of one another, extend your heels away, heels, sacrum, and skull in line. Use your bottom hand to help you come up. Now lengthen here, really open up your bottom ribs and put pressure on the heel of the hand and slide and lengthen. You're tight in your lats. You're going to have shoulder restriction. That's going to pull your shoulders forward. So we want to lengthen that side body line. It's going to have a big effect on your arm lines, okay? Because those lines are attached to your arms. So arm overhead, hold the wrist, lengthen, heels away, Lengthen side body. Feel that spaciousness as you begin to move the pelvis away from the rib cage. So ribs move up, rib basket moves up, and hip moves down, and you start to get a waist. You start to get some space. Instead of sitting your ribs on your hips all day long at a computer, you start to get some space. And that lengthens that internal oblique that goes right down into the deep, into the groin, into the psoas, and you can feel the whole abdominal area will draw back toward the spine and turn on. It turns on to support you, to keep you balanced. The abdominals do some work. This is side-lying Uddiyana Bandha. This is how you do Uddiyana Bandha and not get tummy, not get straight in your face. From here, just place that foot back. So place that foot back behind you. If it's slightly turned out, knee is going up and out just slightly. And then just let yourself roll. Keep the knee back. Do your best to keep that knee back. So, really plant that foot. A little bit of glute work here. Just a little bit. Some of you don't have any glutes. Some of you have overactive glutes. And you have glutes that misfire. So the firing isn't right, and you get lower back pain. So I have that on one side. I have an imbalance. I have a rotated pelvis. And so the muscles do their best to try to keep me upright from falling over. And of course, they get overworked, and then I get strained, and sometimes I have to go get treatment. But that's okay. I do this in between. And the more I do this, the less I have to go pay somebody else, okay? So that's how that works. Okay. And then this time, instead of going onto our back, let's just go right around onto our bellies. Come around onto your tummy. And I'm going to show this so you can watch. And if you want, you can just kind of roll a little bit onto your side and put your elbow on the floor, put your head in your hand so you can see me, okay? I'm going to try to, hopefully you can see me in this position. And we'll see what happens if you can't. So you can talk to me, okay? This is for the people who have the balls. If you don't have the balls, you can still do the movement. It just won't be as effective. So just, that's the deal. People who did get the balls, going to use the two balls. One is going to go right here at the point of right where your humerus, right where your humerus is for people with stiff shoulders now. It's going to be fantastic. And also the front body line. So often the shoulders are dropped, come forward. This has gotten tight and narrow. The thoracic outlet is compromised from working with a mouse or whatever. Yeah, so these positions really compromise the thoracic outlet, which of course goes into the skull, which goes into the arteries and the carotid arteries and the aorta and stuff to the brain. Okay, so it's all connected. Yeah, so we're going to open up this area. We're going to put one ball right on the bony structure there where the humerus and the clavicle join. So the arms, the only bony attachment is here at the sternum. Okay? The skin is very sensitive here. And then the other ball is going to go under the palm of the hand. Okay, so I just show. Okay. So one ball right on the bony prominence, right on the point. It's a little bit painful, actually. If you're stiff, it'll be painful. Your other hand is going to be on the floor. Your other hand is on the floor, a bit like this, a bit like a claw to push and pull, and the elbow is elevated, and the other ball is under your palm. Your legs, you can tuck your toes under and lengthen your groin, and stretch your feet down. So in this pose, we're just going to push and pull. So I'm going to reach out. So my elbow stays off the floor. I don't drop. People who are hyperextended, don't drop your arm. And then as you exhale, you come back. So the forehead stays on the floor. The ball is rolling across the bony bit into the pit there. Yeah, there's a little pit. And then I kind of go right across that bone. So I push and pull with this hand. I reach with these fingers. And I breathe. So this is for shoulders. Now, if you have a shoulder problem, don't do the next section until I can work with you more, okay? Unless you're very involved. And then you're going to bend your knees up, feet to the ceiling. You're going to let your feet drop behind you. You're going to use this hand to control the weight. So the feet drop, then the chest comes. So I'm putting a lot of pressure now. Now there's a lot of pressure on that shoulder. So this, you have to use your intelligence. It's not about forcing anything. If it doesn't feel good, you don't do it. You stay with the first bit. And then you stay there for a few breaths in the back and come. You know, that feels okay. So some of you are quite mobile. Priscilla, be careful, go slow. No big jerky movements. You're gonna go be very sensitive. And where this ball is can really make a big difference. So back to come. And there's variations on that, but we'll just keep that today. Now, if that feels like too much today, just stick with the first bit, okay? Stick with the first bit. If you feel a bit cautious, if you have a shoulder injury of any kind, just do the first bit, and you'll have to work with me at a different time to go more in a workshop kind of situation, okay? All right, let me do the other side. So let me see you do it, okay? So there you go, off you go. You've got one. Now, if you don't have the balls, you just do the movement. If you don't have the balls, you can't have one ball. It's got to be two, okay? So ball under the shoulder, ball under the palm. Huh? Arm straight out. The one ball under the shoulder, one ball under the palm. The other arm is bent, and you rock back and forth. So forehead rolls on the floor. So Christine, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. That, Christine, you're stretching your left arm under the ball? Okay, so keep your right elbow to the ceiling, Christine. Your right elbow stays to the ceiling. Use your fingertips on the floor. Take the arm further away from you, further away from you. There you go. Now push and pull. So rock yourself back and forth. There you go. Yeah, use that arm. Let the head roll. So reach the arm out, so we do a lot of pushing in yoga, but we don't do a lot of pulling. So you want to pull back as much as you push forward. Let your feet go to the floor, Priscilla. Priscilla, legs long. Priscilla, legs long. Tuck your toes, lengthen your legs. Keep your feet a hip width apart. Yeah. Fingertips on the floor. Other arm, fingertips on the floor. Elbow up, Priscilla. Forehead on the floor, Priscilla. Other arm, take it away from you. Take it in line with your shoulder. Take it in line with your shoulder. No, keep your forehead on the floor. Priscilla, keep your forehead on the floor. The arm that's bent, take it away from your body. It's too close to you. Take it out a bit. And come onto your fingertips. Come onto your fingertips and raise your elbow. Right? Yeah, now push and pull. And keep your other hand long. Keep your fingers rigid so that you stretch your palm. Yes. So the nerves are inside the muscle. Then let the head roll. Let me see the head stay on the ground. Forehead stays on the ground, Priscilla. And you go, okay, now pull back as much as you push out, pull back. Let me see your head roll. Roll, come all the way back. Now go all the way out, yes. Yeah, and you could use your spiky ball. You could use your soft ball under your shoulder and your spiky ball under your hand for this. You've got two balls about the same size, Priscilla, don't you? Okay. Yeah, put that, yeah, and put that under your shoulder, the other one under your shoulder, honey. It looks a bit lumpy. Oh, I see. All right, okay, okay, sweetheart. Okay, there you go. That's a little bit more even, isn't it? Keep your forehead on the ground, forehead on the ground, forehead on the ground. Back and forth you go. Okay, and let's do the other side. Okay, so switch the balls, switch the balls. I'm going to leave out the knee thing. I'm going to leave out the knee thing because I'm just going to, yeah. Just leave out the knee drop. Let's leave that out. Okay, stretch the other side. Put the balls under the other side. If you don't have balls, just switch arms. Switch arms. So I've got two Deirdres, yeah. Stretch arms. Okay, we'll do the other side. So arm is out. So if you have one ball, you could put it under your hand or something, you know, if you have one ball. Okay, or put it under your shoulder. I don't care. Try it on your shoulder, Lucy. Yeah, yeah. So now on the bone, right on the bone, right on the bone, bone. No. Here, look, higher, more, right on the tip, right on that bone, shoulder bone. Yeah, right on the bone. Yeah, it's sensitive. It's sensitive. Yeah. Okay. You'll know when you're there because it's sensitive. Okay, there's not a lot of skin there. Okay, drop your feet down to the floor. Drop your feet to the floor. Drop your feet to the floor, kiddo. No, keep your feet. No, sweetheart. Keep your legs long. Lucy, legs just stretched out behind you. We're not doing the leg drop.
We're not doing the knee drop. Stretch your legs out. No, stretch your legs. Okay. No, 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 no hips. No, it's not your hips. Lucy, forehead on the floor. Forehead on the floor. Bend your opposite arm. Bend your elbow to the ceiling. Put your palm on the floor. No, no. Hand on the floor. Lucy, your left hand on the floor, your elbow to the ceiling. Like this. Fingers on the floor, elbow to the ceiling. On that side. That arm is long. The arm that has the ball is straight. The arm that has the ball is straight. And rock. Put your forehead on the floor. Put your forehead on the floor, Lucy. And rock back and forth. Reach back and forth. Reach with your hand. Reach away from you. Now pull back the other way. Hips stay flat, Lucy. We're not doing anything with the pelvis. It's the body. It's your upper body. It's your shoulders. Your shoulder. You're rocking your shoulders. It's your shoulders. Just watch. Lucy. It's the arm that reaches. You're reaching your arm. Back and forth. Back and forth. Okay, head on the floor. Reach your arm out. Other arm. It's the arm that has the ball that's reaching. It's the arm that has the ball that's reaching. So your shoulder rolls on the ball, honey. The rolling is on the ball. That's what it's there for, is to massage those tissues. Put your forehead on the floor more. It's good. No, that's right. You've got it right. You finally got it right. Put your other elbow up in the air and you push more. Okay. Oh, that's a bit of a mess. Okay. That's all right. Some of you've got it. Some of you don't. It takes time. There you go. Now you're getting it. Do you feel what's going on under your shoulder? Feel the ball on your shoulder. Put your head on the ground. Oh, dear. Okay. We'll give that a break. Okay. Pause. Some of you got into a muddle. I'll have to show that one again. Okay, so the next one, I'm going to show it coming toward you because it does seem like, yeah. Okay, so this is for the, I'm going to do it facing you. I don't know if that will help or not because it did let that get into a muddle. This time the ball is right in the middle of your sternum. Now, I would say if you don't have a soft ball, I wouldn't use a hard ball. I mean, you have to be very careful because the skin here, it just won't feel nice. It's just that it will feel unpleasant. The skin here is very, very thin and it's very tacked down. So we want the ball to be above the xiphoid process. This is your xiphoid process, down where your sternal notch, down the xiphoid process down by your solar plexus. You don't want the ball there. And you certainly don't want it up by your throat. So it's somewhere in the middle, usually around the breast, okay? Between the breasts, okay? So just watch. You're going to, again, the forehead is on the floor. The toes tuck under.
Sorry, Shuddhasara.
Yeah.
Sorry, we can't see you. Could you move your screen just slightly further down so that we could see your body was cut off there? I didn't want you demonstrating without us being able to see.
Oh, can you see now?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Because I was getting up and looking at people. Okay. So the ball is. Did everybody see that bit? Where the ball is? The ball is in between your breasts. Okay, about. So not too low and not too high. You're going to let your hands rest on your head initially. Tuck your toes under and lengthen your heels back. So really make your heels longer than your toes so that you move the pubic bone. You can feel the pubic bone drag down. The hands can be at your sides. And you're going to do figure 8. So you're going to try to imagine an infinity sign or figure 8 going from shoulder to shoulder. And you're going to try to draw that figure 8 with your sternum bone.
So this helps to release the shoulder blades. Okay, just watch. Okay, then after we finish with that, we're going to do that for a little while. Then we're going to extend. So we're going to take the hands by your sides, elbows in line with shoulders, tuck toes, keep the toes tucked under and keep the heels back. I'll talk you through everything. And then you're going to lift your head a little bit. Now you're not snapping the neck. I'm not pulling my head back. I'm just lifting it off the floor, maybe looking just a few inches in front. And I'm going to roll the ball forward. And as I push the ball with my sternum, I'm using my hands and my forearms, and I'm tractioning my shoulder blades back toward my back pockets. So I'm stretching my front body line. The toes tucked under and the extension of the heels is lengthening my psoas and lengthening my abdominals. The movement of stretching the ball, I'm really lengthening from the tops of my hips through the whole front line of my body. This is for your, cobra, Siddhasara. Front body line has to also be long. And I'm also trying to keep that opening in my shoulders by keeping my shoulders drawing toward my buttocks, by pulling my hands back, glue them to the floor. And then down you come, soften everything. Soften and melt over the ball. Ball's very pokey. Tuck, extend, lift the head. Get that traction in your legs first. Push the ball forward, pull the hands back, extend the front body, keep the hip bones, keep those two glued to the floor so that you're lengthening this line. Okay, off you go. Let's see you do it. So put a ball right in the middle of the sternum. So something that's going to have some give. And again, you can do the actions without the ball. You have to imagine the ball there. Yeah? So the first one is the figure eights. So everybody relax. Yeah? Don't jump ahead, Priscilla. Everybody relax. Get yourself over the ball if you have one. Yeah? Forehead on the floor. Take your glasses off. If you're wearing glasses, take them off. You can't really relax your face. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to do our figure eight. So imagine you've got a little ball under the middle of your sternum and start to wiggle your sternum side to side. You're drawing that infinity sign on the ball. The ball is working on you and you're working on the ball. Back and forth, you figure eight. So what's happening is it's actually helping to release the shoulder blades. So it's really helping your shoulder alignment. Let your arms just rest on the floor if you can, Jane. Don't take your hands back yet. No, 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 no. Forearms resting on the floor, yeah. So this is kind of just the upper sternum weaving back and forth. Yeah, if you have a ball, use it. It's much different. If you have a ball, use it. Figure eight. Nice and slow. Keep it small. It won't do much. Good. Now pause that. Just pause that. Melt over the ball. The body starts to respond. It takes a little while. This is a very sensitive area. Skin is very tacked down to the bone here. Not a lot of movement. So, easy does it. Tuck toes under. Really tuck your toes under. Walk your toes toward your face. Extend your heels behind you. Tuck your toes. Walk your toes toward your face. Extend your heels. Get your thighs off the floor. You lengthen. Your tailbone lengthens. Your sacrum lengthens. You're lengthening your back and front body line. Keep the toes tucked under. Keep the heels extending. Lift the head. Lift the head a little bit. And now push the ball forward. Roll the ball forward with your sternum and pull your hands on the floor and move your shoulder blades down into your back pockets and feel that action of strengthening what we release the old patterns. Now you're creating stronger new patterns. Let yourself rest forward, rest forward. Now, if you didn't feel the ball move at all, if you're having a ball, then maybe move the ball slightly higher or slightly lower. Okay, let the head come up first, okay? Okay, wait, start again. Start again, let your shoulders open. Okay, come down over the ball, come down. And take your elbows out a bit more. They're a little bit too close, yeah. And I don't know if it's the hoodie or what, but watch out you're not lifting your shoulders before you start.
Okay, Deirdre, a little more action with the forearms. I want to see you really pull those forearms on the floor like glue and move the, no, less neck. Deirdre, look down. Both Deirdres. You could be sisters. Okay, keep that, Deirdre A, keep your head a little lower. Don't snap the back of your neck. Move your shoulder blades. Yeah, so what, yeah, all right, connect with your shoulder blades. Okay, down you come, rest. Let's do it one more time. Maeve, keep your elbows on the ground for this bit. Keep your elbows on the ground for this bit. That's it, Lucy, move the ball. Push the ball forward, that's it. And pull the shoulder blades back, there you go. No, don't force, you know, but squeeze it out. Okay, down you come, melt down, melt forward, melt forward. Okay, so Deidre A, if you brought your elbows a little higher up, listen, if you brought your elbows, okay, and out a little bit, and out a little, one more time, everybody. Let me see it now. Now, less neck, Deirdre A, less lift of the head, and more shoulder blade action. Move the ball forward, pull your forearms down and back, push, use the floor, pull, and shoulder blades move. Come on. Okay, down you come, rest. All right. Take the ball away, let your chest rest on the floor. And let's wiggle back and forth. Let's just wobble back and forth, toes long, 10 toes long. Let your forehead be on the floor. Let your hands be underneath your head. Put your hands on top of one another, rest your forehead on your hands, and just wiggle back and forth, yeah? Just let your hips release. That's it, let everything go a bit. Yeah, okay. Okay, so now, so we only did about, 2/3 of the class I wanted to do today. So I'm a bit over ambitious, so I'm sorry about that. But that's okay. We did the front line, we did the lateral line, we did the back line, we did the deep front line. So let's do, see if we can do, okay. So flip yourself over on your back now. So come on, just tuck and roll. So here you are, you're on your tummy. There's a whole bunch of movements that go with this. So that was like the preparation for the movements, yeah? But now just kind of tuck the arm under, roll yourself back onto your back. Go back onto your back. Okay, it's time to finish. Whew. So, these are designed, these are not modality centered. So whether you do Pilates or running or fitness or weight training or yoga or anything, these should help. The idea is that it helps your functional everyday movement and improves your well-being, okay? And then it applies to any activity you're doing. So it's not modality centered. It's much more it's a much bigger picture than that, okay? But if you felt some specific releases and you have a strong yoga practice, you might want to do 20 minutes of something after this. It's up to you. I'd like to get people in the day classes on their feet, but we've run out of time. So we're just going to lie on our backs now. And if you want, you can have your folded blanket for your head. So have an extra folded blanket for your head. Have your eye bag. For your, or a belt, or a yoga belt, or, darken the room in any way you can so that you can bring some quiet. So we'll do a Shuddhasara now, a couple of minutes, okay? So when you're ready, arms by your side, settle your spine, drop your pelvis, extend your legs. So now you're back in the Shava shape. And just see, where's the sensation, feeling? What's different? What's the same? How does it feel in there now? How does it feel to be in your body now after doing the practice? Where is there life force and energy? Where is there tingling, pulsing? How do the limbs feel? Ideally the limbs are like ropes. Just let them dangle away from the trunk. Maybe they're more balanced. Maybe they're less. I don't know. You have to feel what's going on in your body. It's no right or wrong. It just is what it is. And then feeling that connection, maybe on that deep front line, we've connected the psoas, that deep postural muscle that starts at T12, thoracic 12,
attaches to the front of all the lumbar vertebra, joins the iliacus in the front side of the back, inside of the pelvis, back of the pelvis, and comes down and attaches to the lesser trochanter, the inner leg, top of the inner leg. And that's connected fascially to the diaphragm, the crux of the diaphragm that comes down and joins the 12th thoracic, and then attaches to all the thoracic spine up underneath the rib cage in a big balloon. It's actually two sides, it's actually two muscles. It actually has two sides. And all the digestive stuff is in between, all the feeds of the arteries and veins are inside, massaged every time you breathe. So how you breathe really matters. So just let the flow of the breath, feel it, the excursion of the breath from deep in the pelvic floor, comes out the anterior ligament, up the back, inside of the spine, loops around under the diaphragm, down the front of the body, just under the abdominal muscles, and joins the pubic symphysis, yeah. Spreads down into the psoas. Yeah. That's a big loop. So we're coordinating the upper and lower body, bringing a true alignment, better alignment through the whole spine. Hydration of all the tissues that hold all the organs in place. So here, the pelvic bowl has been, we've done a lot of undulations and side movements and scrubbing, and so, and opening the pelvis. So the rim of the pelvis is level. The inner organs have room to spread and soak and take their rightful place. So all of the bottom of the mixing bowl, what they call the true pelvis, where the reproductive organs are and the organs of elimination are all very compact and compressed. And usually they're under a lot of pressure downward and forward. So this work has loosened all that up and given some space just surrounding the organs. It brings you organ health. Gives you beautiful organs. Makes you fit, it gives you beautiful organs. And of course, all of the systems associated with those organs are improved. So reproduction, elimination, digestion, respiratory, circulatory, lungs, heart, kidneys, all the purifiers of the body, the kidneys, the liver, pancreas. And as we've let go of that throat hold, you know, there's space around the top of the throat for the breath to enter and leave the body. The weight of the arms can really relax, really let go even more. Right up into the sides of the face, the sides of the neck, the sides of the face. So collarbone spreading, throat open, jaw released, tongue relaxed in the mouth, cheeks released, slide toward the floor, eyes soften and sink deeply back into the sockets. The temporalis muscle releases to the sides of the skull. The skin of the forehead spreads, the space between the eyebrows broadens, release the scalp, descend the brain, and let all the senses draw in and down to the heart centers, the place where it's infinitely calm, quiet, and spacious. So surrendering there. The human body at peace with itself. The most valuable thing you own, that you possess, I should say, is your body. Everything comes and returns to the body. So slowly, slowly, slowly now, one sense at a time. If you want to stay, and you just don't want to be bothered, just stay where you are and just do what you need to do for yourself today. But the rest of us will slowly come out. So when you're ready, start to wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe do some circular movements are quite nice. You can circle your wrists and your feet, yeah. And then, bring up your knees to your chest one at a time. Just releasing, keeping the lower back soft, just kind of reorganizing that. Maybe do some little circles with your sacrum, or you can, side to side, whatever feels right for you. We're all slightly different. Feels good, what we need to do for ourselves. Stretch that arm closest to preferably your right arm behind you, but not necessarily. Okay, knees to the side. Let yourself roll to your side. Stay on your side. And let's take a few breaths here. So just don't be in a hurry to pop out of your experience. So you learn to take yourself into account. So, this work lowers the blood pressure. So you want to be careful coming up. Then you open your eyes and you can just look down at the floor next to you. Just keep it simple. Private feeling. Then press your hand on the floor and slowly push yourself up. So you come up ever so slowly. The head keeps looking down at the hands. So the head comes up last. And it keeps the brain quiet. We don't want to shock the brain. And then have whatever you need to sit on. It could be a bolster, could be some blocks, your balls. Everybody likes to do something different here. And then put yourself on your lift. And then can you find any comfortable position that allows you to have an upright spine? So you could be sitting on a chair. If you are going to get up to sit on a chair, just always have your chair close to you and use the chair, because your blood pressure, I don't want you to get up actually to standing, but if you have to use a chair, you do have to get up a bit. So use the chair to help you get up and down. And we're just going to do a check and recheck. So here we go. Now we're just going to check in this seated position. So having the spine elevated, having the base of the spine elevated helps to give it a little bit of anterior tilt. So the spine is well supported. It's not so high that you drop forward, but it's not so low that your knees are up and you're going into posterior tilt and straining your lower back. We don't want strain. So the lumbar is in natural curves. If you find that you still want to drag your head forward because you're tired, just put your hand at the back of your skull and move your skull back and lengthen with your fingers the back of your skull up a little bit. Get a little space back there. I didn't use the ball under the neck, which I normally do, so sorry about that. And sense and feel the effect. So where is the length? Where is there a feeling of spaciousness or freedom? What's the distance from the top of your shoulders to your ears? From the middle of your armpits to the middle of your hips, your thighs to your abdomen. So just feeling those places of connection. Let palms really rest on the thighs. Put a blanket there. If your arms are short and it's pulling you forward, put a blanket on your lap.
feel the flow of the breath. Notice the flow of the breath. What's it like now? See, you have some nice movement in the whole trunk, the abdomen, the rib basket, all the way around to this, you know. Sometimes I put my band on around my ribs. I get my 360-degree breath. I put the band at the bottom of my ribs. And I just feel, is the whole band moving with my breath? So not just the front of the band where we normally breathe, but can I move the side ribs? Is the back of the rib cage moving? So looking for that 360. Don't forget that the muscles attached to the vertebra of the spine there. You know, so, you know, we want a 360-degree breath if possible. And then just let the chin come down. So keep the chest lifted, but let the chin drop a little bit. So Jala Bandha is soft. And then you can open the eyes and slowly take the head up. So as always, it's a pleasure and a privilege to share what I love. And I'm very grateful to Kay for organizing and doing all the tech and all the support she's given me, and to Donna Kosha for the continued generosity to provide practices to help people to have a rich, full, you know, embodied life. So thank you, Donna Kosha and Kay. And thank you all for showing up. You know,